right. Welcome everyone to our webinar today. My name is Jordan Pacheco. I am the Director of Vendor Programs with BayWa. Joined here by Kleber Faccini, Director of C&I Products from SolarEdge, and Varsha Murthy, Director of Product Marketing of C&I. So today we're going to be covering C&I offerings from SolarEdge as well as a few other innovations. If you'd like to interact with us, the chat function is not going to be live. Please leave your questions in the Q&A section. So a quick note about who BayWa is for those who are joining us for the first time or just love us so much and want to hear more about us. We are an equipment distributor with 13 locations across the US, offering services into forecasting, helping you lock down your supplies. We also offer the dedicated sales representatives per account. So you have one person running your account, your liaison to all things BayWa. You'll be able to interact with our easy-to-use web store with up-to-date stocking information and pricing. We have commercial services with experts to help you in your C&I planning, from engineering all the way through to logistics. We have consistent pricing across the country, so whether you're ordering in Massachusetts or ordering in Honolulu, we have one price for a single line item all the way across the system. We have an expert logistics team ready to assist you in all things logistics, planning out your deliveries and all things related to logistics. We have an expert services desk. So if you're running into a new vertical, getting into storage, getting into C&I, we have somebody ready to help you in each of those facets. And we also offer direct job site delivery. So if you need this dropped off in someone's driveway, we can definitely help you there. I'd also like to add that we have several partnerships with finance programs that offer direct pay. So that should help also with a quicker revenue cycle on your equipment purchases. And let's see, we also have a disclaimer in here because we are going to be talking about some domestic content, some engineering layouts. So the information here is provided as just guidance. Please confirm with your tax advisor if you're looking into DCA, or an engineer if you're looking into electrical engineering things. But yeah, I'm very happy to welcome our guests from SolarEdge, Kleber and Varsha.
Thank you so much, Jordan. We'll go ahead and share our screen now. We appreciate you guys hosting us, and it's great to be here. So very quickly, the agenda for today is going to be me just giving a quick SolarEdge introduction, and then going through the top innovations at RE+. So our goal is to give you a sneak preview of all the products that we will be displaying on the community, commercial, and industrial side. So I'll go through briefly one for C&I monitoring platform that we launched pretty recently. Kleber will then walk you through our domestic content products and strategy, our ground mount 1500 volt solution with TerraMax, Carport solutions, and then I'll just do a quick touch on small scale storage for multifamily and light commercial, and then we can open it up for Q&A. So with that, let me do a very quick introduction here. So most of you know SolarEdge is the #1 in rooftop capacity in North America, and there's a reason why over 50% of Fortune 100 companies have SolarEdge installed. And most of them have chosen us for the main benefits of advanced built-in safety features, higher lifetime production over the life of the system, and significant balance of system savings. So because we have longer strings with our flexible design, we're able to do fewer strings and minimize the cabling, the wire, the conduit that's required, and that results in significant labor cost savings as well. And on top of that, we do have our monitoring platform that lowers the operations and maintenance costs by providing full visibility across the system down to the module and the optimizer level. In fact, most customers who standardize on us for rooftop specifically talk about using us because they believe that we are inherently safer, and we are, beyond just like standard rapid shutdown capabilities. We're also, I have to mention that we're also one of the very few manufacturers who's got a clear pathway to domestic content. And we have developed partnerships across the supply chain with racking partners, CPA tax firms, and tax monetization firms. And Kleber is going to touch on this one in his section shortly. And to give you a sense of scale, we recently announced a landmark partnership with Solar Landscape. This is where we are deploying together 630 megawatts of solar across 500 warehouses, a project that will stand to be the largest rooftop solar installation in America once it's completed. And so you can see from retail to warehouses, factories, public buildings, and MDUs, we are trying to optimize energy across all rooftops. And we don't stop there. We are definitely trying to bring in our innovation to the carport side of the segment as well. And we also have a 1500-volt ground mount solution with our TerraMax that also Clever will touch on shortly. Okay, so with that, we're going to dive into a poll question.
Oh, this looks like a good one. All right, so for the poll question, let's see. What is missing from your monitoring system for O&M activities? Remote control of inverters, monitoring insights into DC equipment, fleet monitoring capabilities, and better analysis features. So we'd love to kind of see what the take is from the field on this.
Yeah, this is exciting, Jordan. It's good
Yeah.
to see that the first one is trending right now to be the.
I was thinking that it would have been fleet monitoring capabilities,
Yeah,
but it looks like remote
yeah.
control of inverters is running away with this. Very interesting. Yeah, it was remote control of inverters with monitoring insights and the better analysis features coming in second. But yeah, that's interesting for me.
Yeah, that's definitely good to know. And I think it's a great segue into our One for CNI platform. And actually, I will talk a little bit about remote control features of our with our inverters and what quantitative benefits it can bring. So that's great. I'm glad you guys definitely see that as a number one thing missing from the monitoring system. Okay, so can close the poll and going back to. Okay. So SolarEdge ONE for CNI, this is our first innovation we're introducing today. We did launch this just this past month, so some of you may have been on that webinar. It's our next generation cloud-based energy optimization platform. And what it is, it's a new way of monitoring, controlling, and optimizing energy. And it's bringing everything together, all production sources, loads, sensors into a single portal. So you can now see data from inverters, optimizers, meters, plant controllers, all in one place. And it's helping O&M providers make decisions faster and maintenance simpler. So who does it benefit is definitely the EPCs and the O&M teams and the asset managers who are able to manage their whole fleet more easily and also across their entire portfolio. So that's the goal for this one. Next slide is just briefly on why this new platform and what are the new improvements that we made. So traditionally managing commercial systems has been juggling a bunch of different tools that's kind of disparate. So there's one for weather sensors, one for inverters, and yet another for asset telemetry. And it kind of gets complicated quickly. So that's where we have SolarEdge ONE for CNI, our new platform coming in. And what we're trying to do with this is take all that complexity away and giving you a single source of truth. So for the O&M managers and the asset managers, so that's what we're trying to do is provide better data, clearer visibility into the platform, and faster troubleshooting. So everything that they need in order to keep all their sites performing at their best. And this is based on a lot of data-driven decisions because we've deployed this already across hundreds of sites in North America, and it's also scaling globally. So we've definitely taken a lot of feedback from you guys, from our customers while we were building this. Plus, it also comes with strong cybersecurity features and safety standards. And it is fully compliant with all the international rules and also with the upcoming US regulations. So quickly, I wanted to go through two key features, just because we don't have time to go through everything, but I wanted to touch on digital twin. And this is the feature that gives O&M folks visibility into the DC side of the system, an area that's often a blind spot. So this is where it pulls the project design from SolarEdge Designer, overlays it with the real-time site data. So you can now monitor performance down to the module level and the optimizer level as well. So you can see the color-coded layers. With those, you can run a remote site inspection, quickly spotting issues like hot modules or underperforming strings, and you don't have to roll a truck for this anymore. So the result is definitely faster troubleshooting and more reliable system performance. And I just wanted to bring in the words of one of our customers. He specifically said the digital twin layout helped us pinpoint the specific optimizer issues instantly. So it helped save them time, eliminated the process of elimination, troubleshooting at the inverter unit and string level. So it specifically was very useful to him on their large scale sites. Okay, so the next slide. So this is very much in line with what you guys were asking about remote device operations being one of the features that you need. So this is a second feature set that is, something we brought in with a lot of thoughtfulness here to make sure that people can configure remotely all the devices from energy control and reactive power to grid protection without having to go on site or roll a truck. So you can also update multiple devices at once, and all these changes are tracked with permission-based logs and audit logs. The screenshot here shows you, I know it's a little bit tiny, but it basically is trying to show us a screen of how to adjust inverter settings, specifically like power limits, frequency, and voltage thresholds. I'm going to show you this feature in action via case study in the very next slide. So this is where we actually wanted to demonstrate the real value of this specific feature, which is a remote operations. And we went back, we analyzed data from July 2024 through July 2025, all the remote operation logs and inverter configurations. And they discovered more than 100 sites and specifically 1,100 inverters. So the North America accounts that had already migrated, they specifically completed 2,600 plus remote operations. And that included configuring, inverters remotely and all those remote actions that I mentioned previously. So when we did the math, that is what translated across all these sites to a cumulative savings of 475,000. Which is huge, right? And that translated to an average savings of $4,000 per site. And it also, accounts to saving about 1,000 plus labor hours overall and 450 plus truck rolls. So the takeaway here is, that the One for Sienna is not just for, being more convenient for you to remote troubleshoot, but it's also delivering real measurable savings, tangible savings. And that adds up in thousands per site and potentially hundreds of thousands, right, across your entire portfolio. So yeah, we're happy to do more analysis on each of your sites if needed, but that's the value we want to demonstrate here. So quickly, I want to touch on the hardware piece for the SolarEdge ONE for CNI. So SolarEdge ONE Manager. So think of this as the brains of the ground. This is the key hardware that brings the One platform to life at your power plant. So it's pulling in all the data from the critical resources that I mentioned. So inverters, optimizers, meters, weather sensors, and it's stitching them together into one clear picture. So what this means is accurate or more accurate telemetry, better performance tracking, and real insights into the plant performance. All that's based on real-time data from the local sensors. It also gives you the flexibility to expand, because if you do want to add in, other consumption meters, other sensors, you can add those later. And it also is basically making it future ready, because if customers want to layer in specialized control features as the site evolves, it gives you that flexibility to do that. And the big one is, the ability to just troubleshoot and get visibility into a site, just using the built-in cellular connectivity, so the O&M team does not have to roll a truck, right? And that's what we saw in the previous slide here. Plus, of course, it is, as always, built with cybersecurity at the core. Everything is encrypted, and secured and protected from unauthorized access. So this is basically data that you can trust. Okay, and just zooming out, in terms of the architecture for the SolarEdge ONE for CNI, the foundation has always been our energy harvest equipment with the power optimizers and inverters. There's other external equipment that includes the environmental sensors, energy meters if desired, and the CT, so the current transformers feeding grid measurements back to the energy meter. And at the center of the diagram, you'll see the SolarEdge ONE manager, which is the controller, the energy meter, the internet gateway, and all of this is enclosed and pre-wired. And it communicates to the cloud using Ethernet or cellular, and downstream, the system uses Modbus, RTU, or TCP to interface with the sensors, meters, inverters, and optimizers. So that's kind of how it looks overall. And next slide. So here's what comes with the One Manager package. You have the pre-wired NEMA 4X outdoor rated enclosure, and this entire device is only 22 pounds. I think Clever, if you click on it, it's a little bit of animation. Okay, there we go. And then we've got the universal controller, or what we call the One controller, which is the brains of the system, also inside. And there's an energy meter that is compatible with both 208 volt and 480 volt systems. And there is a cellular modem with an optional SIM card and cell plan. And of course, there's a power supply and terminal blocks in there. Typically, this is used with weather sensors, what you're seeing on the right side, the plane of array irradiance sensor, back of module, temperature sensor, wind speed sensor, and ambient temperature sensor. And it does come with current transformers for meters ranging from 50 to 5,000 amps capacity. And I think that should cover the one for CNI section with the software and the hardware. Please leave any questions if you like, but I'm going to pass it off to Clever for domestic content, and he has a poll question for you.
Great. Thank you, Varsha. So going into the second poll question, are you pursuing domestic content bonus credits for your projects? Options are yes, no, I don't understand it, which is a completely understandable response. No, don't think I can get equipment for it, and want to find out more about it. So I think this will be a runaway on the yes side.
Yeah, it looks like, that majority of the folks, right, are trying to pursue the domestic content bonus credit. So that's, this is what we're also seeing, across the industry.
Yeah. And as we thought, most folks are pursuing the DCA for their projects. So
okay,
that's great, because Clever's got a lot of solutions here for that.
Sounds good. All right, folks. So I'll go ahead and get started on my part here. I'll try to cover here in the next 20-25 minutes. So that, we have time, for Q&A, because there's a lot of very good questions, starting to come up. So thank you for that. So we'll go ahead and get started, right? So this is innovation number 2, which we've been talking for quite a bit, right? Actually, since the fall of 2024, with regards to domestic content. And as also Jordan mentioned, right, we're also putting a disclaimer that, yes, we're going to be talking about here some items, right, that there's a facts and basis, right, and also some items that you please take this, to your tax consultant, right? To your CPA firm, to a law firm, to validate everything we say here. However, we do understand, we do believe, right? That what we're providing here, those are accurate facts. Okay. So let's talk about domestic content, and we're talking about the CNI inverters, right? There also we're going to be talking about our ground mount inverter, the TerraMax, which is not it's not domestic content. However, our rooftop inverters, the inverters that are made for rooftop and for carport applications, they are full domestic content. Okay, so the three-phase inverter and the synergy inverters, when paired with the C651 new optimizer, which is our new next generation of optimizer, makes a full complete domestic content eligible, right, on the inverter side for you to count that towards the threshold that's needed for the domestic content. Okay, so here are the inverters, right? Kind of like the little more details. What are the inverters that we have, right? The product line that have domestic content. So it's the three-phase inverter, which is the 10, 17, 3, 30, and 40 kW. So this is more like, I would say, for a light CNI, for smaller applications, for 208-volt applications. And then also our Synergy platform, which is also very, it's our workhorse, right? For any projects above 100 kW, right? And we're also seeing, as Varsha mentioned, right? We're seeing like multi-megawatt projects, 2, 3, 4. Even there was like, I think, a 12-megawatt rooftop project in New Jersey that that was commissioned a month or two ago. And this is, right, the inverter that's used there. So we have, we filled like thousands and thousands of these inverter in the field. And we believe, right, that this is a great fit for your project. And last but not least, I want to make sure, again, that the pairing must be the inverter and the optimizer. They must be paired together for full domestic content credits, right? Towards the inverter, according to the elective safe harbor table for 2025-08, which actually I'm going to touch upon in one of these slides. Okay, so for the folks that are not convinced, right? Why to pursue domestic content bonus credit, right? A lot of times, I say, hey, Kleber, look, that's great, but I don't want to pay for the premium, right? For domestic content. I don't want to switch from what I'm doing to domestic content because I know there's going to be a premium, right? But actually, I was talking like with my sales team, right? We developed a very quick reference, and like I would say, in terms of like the bottom line, in terms of what it means to pursue domestic content bonus credit, right? So if you're able to achieve, right, the domestic content threshold, and if you meet everything else with regards to the ITC, right? If you were to kind of go for the domestic content credit, right, in a $2 a watt project, give and take, I know that it's some places in the US it's less, some places it's more, but let's say it's $2 per watt DC, right? 10% means 20 cents a watt DC, right? That you can get from the credit bonus. Now, let's talk about the P. The SolarEdge, right? SolarEdge inverters, from a perspective of domestic content, and also that you're putting optimizers, whenever you're comparing that with a traditional string inverter without optimizers, the premium is about 5 cents a watt, right? Like from a capex perspective. The racking, domestic content racking, we know it's like anywhere between 1 to 2 cents a watt. So let's be conservative, 2 cents a watt. So if you have the 20 cents a watt that you gain, minus the 7 cents a watt for the premium, you're still net 13 cents a watt, right? So that's the bottom line. That's the net gain for the domestic content. Okay, so that's again, the devil is in the details. You have to go through everything, the balance of system. But this is just like a quick reference, right? On the power of domestic content that can benefit for your project. Okay. So now let's talk about I want to also, the next 2 or 3 slides, we're going to be talking about the how to pursue domestic content. I gave you the why, but before, let's just kind of step back a little bit and say, in terms of we talk about elective safe harbor table, treasury guidance, right? So today, this is what I'm showing here. So this is what we call the elective safe harbor table based on the latest treasury guidance 2025-08 that was released in January, right? So that's what folks are talking about, right? I mean, that you have to achieve enough points in this table to be able to get to, now everybody knows it's for certain, we have to get 45% total, the domestic content threshold, for you to achieve the bonus, right? So to 45% 2025, and then 2026 it goes up to 50%. Okay, so for full domestic content inverter, which we provide, you are in the table, you can you contribute its contribution of 24.8%. If you have full domestic racking, 19.6% from the elective safe harbor, then all it's missing, it's a module, right? So a module that, for instance, a module that's what we call like a DCA or like a light DC, right? I mean, a light domestic content with a small contribution of 0.8%, which would be a junction box, you get to the above the threshold of 45%. Okay, so that's why we're talking about the whole percentage-wise here. I wanted to give you some background. More details on equipment, because there was also, like to say, there was also a category that I put in the question, is that I'm not achieving because I don't know if the equipment is available. Yes, it's available. So I gave you the inverters, right? I mean, for SolarEdge inverters. Also, we have worked very extensively with Install, which is the parent company of PanelClaw Iron Ridge, right? I mean, so we have worked, and I'll show to you folks a work that we did together. So here's an example. I'm showing PanelClaw via, I mean, the PanelClaw FR and the Claw FR Plus. They both have an option for full domestic content product, which then 24.8% plus 19.6%, 44.4 total. Then on the modules, like I said, we have several modules that you can that to work. I mean, and even Jordan, you can reach out to BayWa. I know that they have modules like DC that they can help with that. Anywhere between having a module with a junction box, all the way we're starting to see up to like what you call 12% before you get to US cell modules, right? I mean, you have module with US cells. So that's what we call it the light DC. And module suppliers are already preparing for the 5% increase for next year so that they can help you to get to 50%. Okay, so there are several modules. I'm not going to mention who they are, but reach out to BayWa and they can help you with that. Okay, so let me another thing, you know what I mean, like that a tool, and that I'm very excited, you know what I mean, about this, and I've been pitching this since we released like in the spring, which is it's a partnership, it's a collaboration. Actually, I should say it's a collaboration, right? I mean, we worked with Install, which is, like I mentioned, it's the parent company for PanelClaw and Iron Ridge, and we collaborated. Then we worked with Novogradac. Novogradac is a CPA firm, right? I mean, it's a firm that helps you with tax, right? I mean, with forms to understand like the tax laws, right? So what we did is that, I mean, we collaborated with Novogradac, right? And we provided to them all our numbers, all our the data, the product characteristics, so that Novogradac could look into our numbers and provide what they call an AUP report. What's AUP? What does AUP stand for? It's agreed upon procedure. So it was a report that was agreed with us, and that's actually, I've come to learn that that's the golden standard, right? I mean, for financiers, whenever they're looking, right, I mean, to finance a project with the domestic content bonus credit. It's a report that Novogradac writes based on the products that you want to use and provides, right? Say, hey, here is what the results are from their investigation. Okay. So this report is available from Novogradac, and more details. We're going to be sending this slide here to them, to everyone. There is a website that we created, you know what I mean, that goes into the details about that work, and also provides what's next, the next steps, right? I mean, we can get you in contact with Josh and Novogradic so that you can find out more about this AUP report, which can be done at the project level or at the portfolio level. Okay, so again, this is something that we did to solve the problem about I don't know how to achieve this, I don't know what products to use, and I don't know how to interpret the law. All right, so changing gears a little bit here, right? So I mean, from a product perspective, so this is a product, right? I mean that is available. This is the Synergy Manager, right? I mean that for C&I domestic content, right? And I'm going to just kind of give a quick introduction here that we have two flavors or two models for the Synergy Manager. One is the Synergy Manager, right? I mean, that's what we call like it's a distributed, it's a multi-DC input version where the inverter is traditionally located close to the array, right? I mean, so whenever there is a need, whenever you want to put the inverters closer to the array, right? I mean, so folks use this inverter, this option where you're putting all of the strings bringing all of the strings home runs into the inverters. However, we also have, on the other hand, right, and we also have what we call a combined input version of the Synergy Manager. So what we call the single DC input. We released this option 2-3 years ago. And that's for the case, you know, I mean, as projects start to get larger and larger, we're seeing that folks like to put inverters co-located closer together, right? I mean, to like co-located in a location where all of the inverters are together, and then you have long DC cables, right? And then you put a combiner box near to the array, bring aluminum cables into the inverters, right? So I wanted to make sure, and I'll give you like the next slide here, will provide you the benefits, but I wanted to make sure that this is available, this is the channel, and use grade anything above like 300 kW, kilowatts project is great for that. Okay, so talk about now. Let's go. I have 2 slides on carports, and also want to give the benefits. Now, what also I want to give you folks, right, I mean, a different view on how to install carports with our Synergy Manager inverter with the combined input version, the single DC input version, okay? So it is different because traditionally folks install a small inverter, like a 50 to 60 kW inverter close to the array at the canopy, right? And that's it. But what I'm suggesting here, I'm going to show in the next slide, is to install in a centralized location, larger inverters, put DC combiner box close to the array, and then bring aluminum cables into a centralized location, right? That provides you with cost savings on O&M because now you're going to be doing, you don't have to put a ladder, right? I mean, to go and to reach to the inverter. Everything is co-located together. You vandalism protection, right? I mean, instead of having the inverter at each canopy is located centralized, a lot of times you can put a fence around the inverters close to the transformer. Savings in communication cable. Instead of having to wire RS-45 Ethernet cable to all of the inverters, everything is together. You don't have to bring communication cables into your array. Reducing cabling costs, right? I mean, now you're running DC cables instead of AC. So 2 cables instead of 3 cables. And voltage losses. Because you have a longer DC run, right? The DC voltage loss on the DC side are more forgiving. You can have a higher DC loss on the DC side than in the AC side because of the high DC to AC ratios. Okay. So let's go over here a little animation, you know what I mean, that we are trying to do so that you can try to land, right? I mean, that the benefits using a centralized solution for your carport application. And this is also for any large rooftop application as well, okay? So here I'm showing 2 configurations. Centralized configuration With the arrays, you have DC combiner box, right? I mean, which is that what we show here, that the small little box. Synergy inverters co-located close to your transformer and AC switchgear. And then the distributed configuration, I'll kind of bring up step by step, and I'm just going to try to make a contrast, right? So what are the benefits? First, you're saving by having a centralized configuration. You do not need to bring communication infrastructure, communication cable, Ethernet or S485, and not only cables, but conduits that you have to run to the inverters, right? I mean, located closer, distributed around the array. So that's, in average, that's a half a cent a watt savings. Longer DC cables or longer DC circuit instead of and with a short AC run, it's with a short AC circuit. With that, again, because we're running aluminum cables and because we're running two cables, right, in average two cables, positive and negative, instead of three for each of the phase on the AC side, we save about a cent a watt. And because now all of your combining, you're doing the combination with DC combiner boxes out in the array and bringing everything, right, I mean, like all of the circuits, you're combining as much as possible in the DC, combined to inverters co-located. Now you have the opportunity to use larger inverters and therefore fewer inverters for your project. That you are able to save 2 cents a watt, not only from a perspective that you're saving on inverters, but also saving on AC balance of system. So the total savings is about 3.5 cents a watt that you save. So if you have more details, if you want more details, I wrote a blog on this that gets in there. That's the first link. And also Pure Power, an independent engineer, right? I mean, that kind of works with a lot of the developers and installers in the country. They also wrote an article on that. And the link is there, and we'll make sure that everybody gets that so that you want to find out more and also reach out to us. And we have a sip of water here. So the next 4 to 5 slides here, we'll talk about the fourth innovation, which is about the TerraMax inverter. The TerraMax inverter is our 1500 volt DC inverter. That's meant for ground mount applications and even for large ground, even for carport large carport applications. This inverter also uses optimizers, right? I mean, a 2-to-1 configuration, and we're seeing, right? I mean, a lot of success on, especially in community solar projects for community solar and small utility scale projects. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the platform. Okay, so the benefits for the TerraMax is similar to what we see for the CC&I. However, we see this augmented because typically the sites, right, I mean, the projects are larger than rooftop. Okay, so the same ones that you see, it's lower upfront capex. So reduction in balance of system saving, reduction in balance of system costs. Why? Because now you're having longer strings. With this inverter, you can go up to 80 modules per string, 80 instead of 24 to 25 with a traditional string inverter. Okay, with this you have 50% fewer strings and therefore reducing your DC balance of system. That reduces trenching, that reduces cabling, combiner box, and so forth. Increase in energy production. Because we're doing harvesting at the module level, you increase kilowatt hour, right, energy production. And I think that's another thing that we're kind of gaining a lot of momentum in community solar, especially in sites. Community solar, they are typically located closer to municipalities in the north central location of the country, in the northeast, right? I mean, where land is scarce, right? For instance, there is this array here, right? I mean, it's located like in a municipality where you're constrained with land. So with that, whenever you have a land constraint, you want to maximize your kilowatt hour energy production with the same amount of panels. This is what this platform provides. Okay, and also it's granular data. It's real-time and granular data because you're able to see or able to now understand what's going on the DC side from the module perspective, optimizer, and tracking. So you're not having to fly drones, you're not having to do air inspection, and you eliminate the guessing on what's going on the DC side. Okay. So for the sake of time, I'm going to breeze this through. You folks are going to receive this slide. This is also available. We have 3 power ratings, right? I mean, for the TerraMax. We have a 330 kW, that's at 690 volts AC. We have a 250 and a 285 kW at 600 volts AC, okay? So the difference here that it's typically kind of depending on what the level of you're comfortable with using voltage levels above 600 volts AC, but you have the 2 options here. One thing to note is that the 250 kW inverter has reactive support up to 285 kVA. So it's about 0.88 power factor that you can support at full power 250 kW, okay? So the specs are there. I'm not gonna go over through that, but it's a 1500 volt DC. But I mentioned the main items. And one thing to mention again, it's up to all the ratings that I gave you, it's up to 45 degrees Celsius. Optimizers. We have 2 optimizers here. One is the H1300, right? I mean, which is for modules up to 650 watt modules, which is like the M10 modules. And then we also have the H1500 power optimizer, which is for larger modules that are being released, right? Especially domestic content modules with US cells. We're seeing 720 watt modules and short circuit currents up to 20 amps. So that's what that optimizer is great for. And this is the one that's going to allow you to go up to 80 modules per string, you know what I mean, depending on the module wattage that you are using, okay? So again, depending on the project, we can help you to size that. The designer, our tool is there for that. And we have an application engineer team that's going to help you with that. And last slide on TerraMax. We also have what we call the virtual central solution. So the virtual central solution, right, I mean, is where you're putting, it's up to 5, we have up to 5 megawatt AC blocks, right? I mean, we have a 1 megawatt and a 2.5 megawatt AC standard blocks, right? I mean, that's where it's pre-wired and delivered to the field. The inverters are delivered to the field on a rack already wired, right? I mean, ready to be connected to your AC switch gear and then therefore to the transformer, okay? So reach out to us, we have more details, and we have up to blocks up to 5 megawatts AC. The 4.99 megawatts AC is there. You know, they're kind of like a lot of times, I mean, folks have a limit to 5 megawatt AC so that they don't trigger like a more complicated interconnection study. There was also some grants, right? I mean, that was also less than 5 megawatts AC. Therefore, that's what we designed that version. Okay. And then with that, I'll pass that back to Varsha to bring it home.
Great. Thank you, Clever. That was great. So those were the 3 main innovations. Domestic content. Again, if you guys want to have a conversation on that, please come meet with Clever and our sales team. We'll all be at the booth. And TerraMax is definitely something we're focused on for 1500 volt ground mount. So keep coming and having those conversations with our general manager of ground mount, utility scale. Amir will be there. Amir Cohen. So. With that, let me just quickly touch on our 5th and final innovation for today, small scale storage for multifamily and light commercial applications. So this is with our home hub and our home batteries. The flexibility and the ease of installation that this provides to installers is because of the home battery specifically, which can be mounted on the wall, rack mounted or pad mounted. So they can adapt to any site without taking too much of valuable real estate. And the installation itself is quite simple and does not require a lot of heavy machinery. On the performance side, I would say that the system uses passive air cooling and it's a DC coupled design because that's how we typically deliver a highest round trip efficiency, which means more usable energy for customers. So from a compliance perspective and a safety standpoint, everything is listed and tested to the latest UL standards. So the inverters here, home hub inverters, meet UL 1741 SP. And the battery system with the home batteries is certified to UL 9540, and it's tested to UL 9540A. So another key advantage is that both of these products are actually manufactured in the US, in our Texas, Florida, and our Utah manufacturing facilities. So they are eligible to qualify for the domestic content incentives that Kleber mentioned, even on this side of the business. And finally, they are a great fit for Title 24 projects in California, since Title 24 requires both PV and storage. In new buildings, many projects typically need a small portion to be a storage system to pair with the PV. So with our modular building blocks of, the battery being 9.7 kilowatt hour capacity and the inverters between 3.3 to 10 kilowatts, we have the flexibility for designers to rightly size the system based on what they may be needed. And with that, we're opening up to the last poll question, Jordan.
Great. Last poll question here, folks. What innovation shown today are you most excited about? So first option is US manufactured products for the DCA, the TerraMax 1500 volt ground mount solution, SolarEdge ONE for C&I, Carport configurations, storage solution for light C&I applications, and Power Expert non-export limit. I personally love seeing light C&I getting some love on the storage side.
Yeah, it is important. It's going to become more important. I agree. Kleber, it's your favorite, though. That is everybody's favorite, which is domestic content, US manufactured products.
Hot topic of our industry today.
Yeah, it's definitely a hot topic.
I know. It definitely seems, that it's kind of well balanced, like with all of them. But domestic content seems to be the one that came
standing
out
out there
stronger.
Yeah, we definitely need you guys to come take a look at the, what savings we can provide with the Carport configuration, because that got a little less love, Kleber. So maybe there's a need to demonstrate, how we can show the savings, right? And how it's quantifiable with a single DC input.
That's right.
Okay, so Jordan, before we hand it back to you for Q&A, I see a lot of good questions coming in. I'll just say that please visit us at RE Plus. We have our booth at the Venetian 9213 is our booth number. And we'll also be at the BayWa booth. So that's 7313. And we will have specifically our residential products and our commercial domestic content products, right? So there will be a Synergy inverter and a C651U, which is both our domestic content SKUs. And you can find us in the BayWa booth. You can also find us in the SolarEdge booth. So please come by, say hi, and actually meet with all of our product experts. So there's a QR code here. We'll leave it open for you guys. So feel free to scan for a meeting, and we'll go ahead and get that set up with you in the next week or so.
Great. We had so much content today that I kind of wanted to hold my questions to not interrupt, and just wanted to make sure that we got all of this amazing information out there, and SolarEdge came ridiculously well prepared as usual and as expected. But I had a few more questions in regards to some of the topics that we covered today. So I just kind of wanted to touch up on, of course, domestic content. Previously, we had an agreed upon procedure with Novogradac that covered the 40 and then went to 45. Is this going to be updated for the 50% coming up next year?
So Jordan, this is a very good question, right? I mean, so at this point we have like just inverter and racking, right? I mean, that covers the 40%, right? We are actively working, right? I mean, I'm talking with a couple of potential folks on the module side, for us to work with. But it is on our radar. Now, if there is a need, right, I mean, for like a customer that wants to do that right now, reach out to us, and then we can expedite that the work.
Great. And I think I really want to reiterate how important this is, because this is as close to getting approval without actually having approval. Like, so here's a company that's basically underwriting, I guess would be the closest way to say it, this combination that SolarEdge and Install are bringing forward. And then the only variable left would be adding in the module contribution.
That's right.
So both the inverter and racking at full content is fixed. And then whatever, if you're trying to make up for that 45% or whether you're solving for 50, that's probably going to come from the module unless the safe harbor tables are updated.
That's right. Yep.
Great. I also had a question on the TerraMax side. So you mentioned 80 modules on a string. How is that happening? Because that seems like a ridiculously high amount. And it's
that's right. So yeah, this is just like I mean, to avoid going to through like a long explanation, but this is just a quick one. Because we are putting in series optimizers instead of modules, right? Therefore, this is the optimizer works as a DC to DC converter. So the optimizer is regulating the output, its own output, and then we are able, right? I mean, as you put optimizers in series, therefore, this is why you're able to put 80 modules in per string, right? And then so it'll be like about 40 optimizers in a string because each optimizer gets 2 modules. So why? It's because the output of the optimizers is being controlled, and you are putting in series optimizers instead of modules.
So under that same logic, seeing as how we're talking a lot about domestic content, and you're seeing all kinds of really creative ways to hit that percentage where you have one module that's maybe not a domestic content module that could be of a different watt and current output, and you team that up with one that is but might have different output. Is that sort of like how I'm able to take module A that doesn't qualify and module B that does to make up my percentages? Like that's fine under that system.
That's correct. That's correct. The only thing, right? I mean, so yes, because of our system, because we're doing the energy harvest and the module level, then you can mix and match, right? I mean, modules of different wattage, different manufacturing, right? I mean, different open circuit voltage. So you can do that whatever you want. The only caveat, the difference is that for the synergy inverter, you can have pretty much like let's say every optimizer, because it's a one-to-one optimizer for that product line. Then it's every module in your string, right? And it can be different. For the TerraMax, then it's what happens is that for every optimizer, the modules have to be the same because it's a 2-to-1 optimizer.
Got it. Okay. And some questions for you, Varsha, on the One platform. So a lot of folks are really fixed on their favorite third-party monitoring fleet management platform. Will this One platform be required to monitor systems for integrators?
Kleber, I think you can take that one specifically for third party.
Would you mind repeating the question again? I'm sorry, Jordan.
Yeah.
Because
so if I have my set fleet management platform, how does the One platform integrate with that?
Yeah. So you're talking about like a third party.
Yeah, correct.
Third party monitoring. Yeah. So we have so today, right? I mean, currently, right? I mean, what we have is that we have like remote API, right? I mean, so this is something we already do, right? I mean, we're third party monitoring systems where they're able to get alarms, right? I mean, from our API, from our inverters only. And also, right, I mean, we have a Modbus list from our inverters, like from SunSpec, a SunSpec Modbus list. So they're able to take the telemetry of the inverters only, right? I mean, via SunSpec Modbus, as well as via API, the folks will be able to get alarms, right? I mean, and also some notifications from the inverters.
Excellent. And when is that system going live? So just folks have an idea of when to expect all of this.
Correct. So the monitoring is already live, right? I mean, for the folks, I mean, we've been encouraging people, our customers, right? I mean, to migrate since the beginning of the year. So whoever wants, Varsha, right, we can send like the QR code for that migration. But the hard cutoff, it's going to be early September. So in early September, we are going to say, okay, now we're going to be migrating everyone to the new monitor platform. CNI, that is, right? I mean, for CNI customers.
Understood.
Yeah, and Clever, I think that would include also Resi customers who have CNI sites, right? So they would still be able to access both, but there is a place where they can choose the icon, right, in order to pick that.
Correct.
But yeah.
That's right. That's correct.
Yeah, so Jordan, I'll just add to that and say that we are also sending a couple of other communications before RE Plus in the coming weeks, just to serve as a reminder that we'll migrate everyone. And like Kleber said, the hard cutoff is like mid of September, right before RE Plus, everybody will be migrated. But if people want to start like getting used to the new platform, they can do it today, because that communication will actually have a link to migrate to the platform, and I can actually put a link in the chat here to that, right? So if people want to do that, they can do it today.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you. And some follow-up questions on the storage solution. Folks are trying to solve for all kind of use cases. Which use cases would you say that your system can cover? So just looking into arbitrage, looking into resilience, just
Yeah.
figure that out.
So typically right now for multifamily and light commercial, we're able to do self-consumption, and it can be programmed for time of use rates. So to your point, arbitrage, Jordan, that can be done, right? But backup, we're still working on it. So currently it can serve these use cases. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned Title 24. What size of system are we looking at to be able to qualify for that?
Yeah, so typically Title 24 just needs like a small amount of energy storage, right, to be paired with the PV. So since we have our usable capacity with the battery being 9.7 kilowatt hours, that does allow designers to just design in even with one battery, right? So you can do up to 3 batteries with one home hub inverter.
Okay, and I saw you mentioned that it was on the DC side. Are you able to AC couple retrofit this system?
Yes. So on the DC coupling, I think I mentioned that we are able to generate a higher round trip efficiency, right? And provide maximum, energy for customers, but you can AC couple it if needed. That is possible.
Great.
Yeah.
And
I'll just add one thing, Jordan, from a Title 24 perspective, right? I mean, it's just it's dependent on the building, right? I mean, depending on the location, the size of the storage, but what we're noticing is that folks are really trying to kind of hit the let's say the minimum amount that's needed for energy storage, and this is what the solution provides, right? I mean, it's the granularity to be able, right, I mean, to meet like the minimum amount or like the amount that's needed to meet the Title 24 requirements.
Perfect. And I had one more question. I think we have enough time for it. You mentioned UL 3141, which is for the PCS. What additional equipment is required, and when will we have that certification if it's not here already?
So yeah, that's a very good question, Jordan. I mentioned that, and I know that the folks from California, they are very much interested in me. Every time I go on a meeting, they ask about me. So the plan, right, I mean, is that from equipment perspective, it's going to be the SolarEdge C&I inverters, domestic content. There will be a need for an energy meter, right? I mean, the energy meter that's located inside of the SolarEdge ONE manager that Varsha talked about. There will be also CTs that will be listed, right? I mean, to the solution that will be kind of be telling everyone what it is, but it's, I mean, CTs from Continental Controls, CTs and also Rogowski coils. And we do not have certification yet, right? I mean, we're working on that, and then expected availability, right, for this solution is end of the year. So towards end of the year. So like I said, right, I mean, there is always, I don't want to pick a date right now because I mean, especially with certification, as you all know, things can always get delayed. Sure. But that's our expectation that by the end of the year to have this solution ready.
That sounds great. And it looks like we're at time. This has been ridiculously informative. You can see all of the innovations that SolarEdge is working on, addressing the needs of the market. This is a pretty exciting time to see all this stuff come out. I want to thank Varsha and Kleber for their preparation and just being able to answer pretty much every question we had for them. So thank you guys so much for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And
Thanks, Jordan, for having us, and to BayWa for hosting us today. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Definitely. And as mentioned, please visit us, our booth at RE Plus 7313 and SolarEdge as well at 9213. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. And thanks for attending.
Thanks,
Thank you all.
everyone.
Have a good day. Bye.
Take care.